the Montgomery Building and the Carolina Theater were built within the same construction plan and project, all by Lockwood Green in 1924. The theater opened as a vaudeville theater and then quickly changed over to a movie theater when sound was a new technology. So the theater, as we'll see, I'll point you in as much as we can. Since they're building our steps for the tours, we won't be able to get all the way into the auditorium. But the idea is to keep the stage intact for its new use, as well as much of the original detail that you see, especially in this space. This is one of my favorite spaces in the theater, of the original detail from the 1924 opening as possible.
And this was the original lobby, yes, of the theater. And what makes this place so interesting, the Montgomery Building and this whole, it really was the first experimentation in a mall system of retail, where you had a hallway arcade and feeding into other stores off of the street, and then the movie theater was part of that arcade. And this was the entrance from the arcade into the movie theater. And yeah, so it's just phenomenal that all this is here.
Only a couple of years into the theater opening, the box office was located right here on this wall, so you purchased your tickets from inside the arcade. Again, that really strengthens the whole mall concept that they were experimenting with in the 1920s. The theater was notably renovated in the early 1940s, so a lot of people that you talk to in Spartanburg remember it from that renovation. It was carpeted at that point, the seats were replaced. Also a concession stand went in at a later renovation as well. So it took on many forms over its lifespan. Eventually, in the 1970s, it was completely converted into a movie theater like you'd see today, with covered walls. They filled in the orchestra pit at that point. There was an orchestra pit up until then. So you had a typical movie theater like you would expect to see today. That only stayed open for about 2 years before it completely closed. And then the changes that you see to the space now happened in 1984, when there was an idea to turn this into a food court within the arcade. That never happened, but that little change to the space kind of works to our advantage for a future use and allows us to use the space in a mixed-use venue like you would see at a music farm or a Fillmore or an Orange Peel. So that is hopefully the plans for the future, but it's going to take a lot to get there. Yep. We've got quite a bit of renovation. There's obviously some modern upfits that need to happen, and then Preservation South Carolina is fundraising to restore the historic elements that are really character defining. So the plaster, the gilding, the paint colors that you would have seen in 1924. Most notably, and we'll see it when we walk out into the main area, the grill and the auditorium ceiling is really characteristic of the space. So you'll have to take a look at that for sure. And we can go up to the balcony and get a better look as well. Okay.